just take us through this. Who we got? Michelle, you're on. Sure, yeah, you're on.
I'm on.
Yeah, take us through just those factors in the report.
Yeah, so Perry wrote the report, so they're pretty much what happened in the hui. From additional sort of comments, we noted the absence of Matua Hami Hilton due to illness, so Pikitore Te Rangatira welcomed Zach Makoere, Central Hawke's Bay representative, and Perry's new team member on the staff was Te Wairama Monroe. Noted one of our representatives, Papa Bill's in his 90s and has regularly been on the Zoom scene, so you're never too young to learn. Technology, there you go, Rex. Take reporta o takiwa, so the Tai Whenua updates, common theme was primarily around the COVID-19 and how the Tai Māori organisations and most especially Tai Whenua were playing their part in supporting the community and the food hub, etc. Varying environmental issues highlighted, and committee members were pleased with the informative meeting, interaction with the regional staff, and the various subjects and reports that were presented. It was quite a bit. This was the first time I had chosen the agenda, so I think I gave them over 90 pages, and I thought I was going to get growling. But no, they were happy with it. Things to note was the pest control and TB outbreaks. There was a highlighted concern from Whanganui Rotu, Representative Peter Eden with regard to 1080 drops in one of the mahere, and they were, the tangata whenua had informed them they were most distressed about that taking place. Without their tautoko, Central Hawke's Bay, there were health concerns about the nitrogen levels in the wells, and the worrying similarities to Canterbury regards blue babies and colorectal cancer issue. There was a workshop on aquifer recharging following the hui, and there were concerns about nitrates and pesticides making their way into deeper wells, contaminating confined aquifers. That transition is one of an tangata whenua lenses from Waimaori, so it's from the good water to Waikino, which is a bad Māori. Wairoa Focus acknowledged the work completed thus far by the Regional Council from the Marae and Urupawa Hitapu that were developed out of the cultural impact assessment. Heratanga continued to voice concerns about depleted waterways, over allocation, resulting in empty awa and dead fish. So the other thing was that the tile was continually looked upon as a resource versus a taonga tukui, disregarded over economic gain. Organisation activity update was included in a meeting pack, and Māori committee members did appreciate the snapshot it gave them pertaining to their particular catchment and the work programs of the regional council. So it was good. It was a good thing to include. It was a long day. We had a 4-hour hui, and then that was followed by a 2-hour workshop. So pretty much we're in hui all day. The action we had to follow up with was the Zoom wānanga on terms of reference and charter on the term work plans for the Māori committee. An update on that is now it's been locked in for the 4th of June via Zoom. And there was also the request again for RMA making good decisions training. And that's pretty much the addition to the summary that was provided by Perry. Any questions?
Anything to add to that, Mike?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think my co-chair adequately covered off our hui and all of the contents.
Thank you. Is there any questions on this paper? If not, can we have someone? Michelle, could you move that we? You can't move, can you? The council has to move.
To receive my report.
Jeff, would you move to receive the report? Thank you very much. And second, Martin, would you receive this report? Thank you very much. All those in favour of receiving this report? That is carried. Thank you. Now we have this other item 10, which Craig raised, a report from councillors and outside bodies. And as you could see, I just want to talk about this for a second. There is a large list of outside bodies that councillors are involved in. And I do think this is a really good idea that we are going to report, but I do think we need to put some structure around it. So otherwise we'd be here all day, especially if you take questions. And councillors will want to ask questions on particular activities that their fellow councillors are taking. So unless, what I'd like is if you have got something pertinent to say from your committee, if you could let us know and we get it on the agenda, because otherwise, if we take all of these, we'll be here till 3 o'clock, and that's just not what we need to do. So that's going to be the process. Right now, is there any councillor who's got, I don't want you all to put your hand up, by the way, who've got something that they think is really pertinent to report on any one of these committees? And I do have a suggestion. Will, I think we do need a quick update from you on not just future farming, but the whole drought situation. I know that because you've been deeply involved, and it's something which is deeply affecting. So apart from Will, which we want to give 3 to 5 minutes to do that, is there anybody else who is desperate to talk about their committee? Okay, good. So we've got a process. Will, I'd like you to spend 3 to 5 minutes and just give us an update of the whole drought situation, and perhaps a bit on the TB as well, and the impacts.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So look, I guess the drought response, you could say in a way, is ramped up quite a lot recently with the most recent developments, and they are the announcement of the Mayoral Relief Drought Fund last week, and the visit from the Minister and the contribution from the Crown as well. That combined with the media attention leading up the week before leading up to that, and also the Wairarapa feed run, so the donated feed from Wairarapa, and that set off a chain of other regions doing a similar process, which has obviously all been appreciated, and it's brought, I guess it's brought a lot more farmers, and particularly more recently lifestyle blocks, I guess, have taken notice and reached out for help, knowing that feed or those funds are out there to potentially tap into. So yeah, look, while I'm not doing any of the core work around, the answering the phones and going off the hook, and so I'm wary of all of those guys getting quite worn out actually with responding to all the requests. But so that's what's been going on. I guess the discussions around the Hawke's Bay Red Group, and we met last Friday, mainly centering around the use of those funds and who should receive them, and so just to give you a flavour of the debate, if you like, there's what's perceived as the farmers that are well organised and well planned, and perhaps brought in feed prior to the announcement of the fund, and funded and paid for all of those costs themselves. And then there's those that are still, I guess, lacking in that organisation and still needing to buy and feed, and now reaching out for help in it. So it's, which farmers get the help and which don't, sort of thing. So there has to be lines drawn in the sand, obviously. To give you an idea, there's $1 million in that fund. I think, if 1,500 farmers called for it, it's about $600 each. So, depending how far and wide it's spread, it potentially may not go far if it was divvied up like that. So I guess it's just the challenge the group's got, and Ian might like to talk to. He's probably more involved with the leaders of that group that are talking more often about how they come up with the process of divvying up those funds. But it's just the challenge they've got is who gets it, who most needs it, and who misses out. So I guess the rain last a few days ago was most welcome, and particularly the areas that have missed out previously probably got a better go at it this time, particularly in Central Hawke's Bay. I understand sort of more north, Pātoka, Tipahui, those sort of areas barely got a mill, whereas down in CHB we were sort of 20 to 25 mils. So but prior to that, we got some wicked frosts, which kind of we'd taken one step forward with the rain before that, and then 2 steps back with the frost. And so luckily we've had this follow-up rain and no more frost since. That's probably the drought update. I'm not sure whether Ian wants to chip in with any of that discussion around the mural fund. Obviously that's most relevant to what we've been discussing, particularly last week here as a council.
Ian, have you got anything to add, given this is a major for us all?
So, Chair, look, Councillor Foley's covered it off really well. And look, the Rural Advisory Group have been working pretty solidly since last week to crystallise the criteria and eligibility for the funding, and that's going to be landed at a meeting of the Rural Advisory Group on Friday. Fair to say that it's incredibly challenging to work out the best way to distribute the funding, and actually there's no way that will satisfy every situation and every person, but I think the solution they've come up with does a really good job of getting it as far as possible to those who need it. What they have agreed or decided to do is not to step into the market and directly fund the transport, or to charter ships or trains or anything else, but to apply a support payment to those who are eligible in a one-off sense directly to the people, directly to landowners, to then use to offset their costs. And there's some checks and balances in there to ensure that they are the people that need it, and that they are prepared, and that that the feed is being managed in a sensible way with a feed plan or a feed budget. So and they've taken an approach that's really similar to the way the government approached supporting our community broadly in the COVID response, which was we'll do something that's simple, that's as equitable as we can make it, that relies on high trust, but with sufficient checks and balances in it to come back and check and double check those folks who are getting the money down the track, but to get it as quickly as we can to the people who need it. So I think they've done a good job. It's been incredibly challenging. It's close to being finalised, so that we can get it activated and get it out to people as quick as we can.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Will. I'm just going to take a bit of chairman's license here as I look down this list. I just want, I think councillors and our community would value a quick report from one of our HBRIC directors, because I understand HBRIC directors have met on several occasions, being that they are really effectively our commercial arm of the council, and they are the owners of our port shares. And I understand that they have been meeting just to see how they could contribute to any recovery, given the talent that's in that board and the resources that are immediately available. Now, Craig, you're in the middle of my screen, so you're going to do a report on this.
I just want to say, note, Chair, I love your sharing style. You've immediately broken your own rule that you set. So well
I know,
done.
but I was just listening to
In the
Will.
last 5 minutes.
There's another one. Now you've got 5 minutes, Craig. Just a quick update on where you guys are at.
Sure. Well, I'll just let my two other HBRIC colleagues talk about things other than the drought.
No, only one's going to talk.
Okay. So, colleagues,
Hang on there, Mr. Chair, hang on.
There was a discussion initially as a need for someone to underwrite a very large purchase and secure feed, stock feed for drought-stricken farmers. We've gone full circle in that. People involved, the chair of HBRIC, Dan, and Blair, the CEO, and myself, and then at HBRC with Ian and his team, to cut to the chase, actually the size of the problem and what we thought we might need to do as HBRC or HBRIC has actually come almost full circle, to the point now where I'm having a discussion this afternoon with Lockie McGilray, with one of the leaders of one of the farming supply companies, to put together a quick solution to enable facilitation of farmers, lifestyle blocks, whoever, to be able to purchase feed. The missing bit here, this is all about baleage and hay, and that's the hard part, because actually there's many suppliers of this, and there's many customers, and there's actually no kind of farmlands or rightslands type entity who facilitates all that, such as they do with grain and things like that. So with that little triangle in place, and the knowledge and wisdom on the Rural Advisory Group and the Drought Group, I think we're pulling something together. Hopefully it will work well, and we'll have more positive news this afternoon. I do know, I think there's, Ian may just jump in, but I think there's about 1,100 bales of hay coming this weekend. So colleagues, I guess, and for the public, the Regional Council have put a lot of thought and time and resources to solving some of the gaps in this problem. Those that know this sector are doing their thing in absolute utmost. There's a lot of weight on just a few shoulders actually, from feed, but more importantly, the emotional side that many families are going through as they struggle to see light at the end of the tunnel at the moment, COVID and drought. So HBRIC at this stage, I'll be reporting back to my colleagues there and the chair, on hold at the moment, not needing to do anything further other than pushing our connections and communications to facilitate solutions. So all looking positive at the moment, Mr. Chair. Many hands are to this wheel. If anything changes as to HBRC or HBRIC needs to put financial resources or risk on board because of this, we'll get your permission.
Thank you, everybody. Unless another one of those other sectors have it really pressing, we will move. I mean, it would be quite nice to have a bit of an update from tourism, but perhaps anyway, we might do that next Wednesday. So if you can prepare yourself to that, I'm pretty sure that people and the public too, and I think this is a really good opportunity for the public to hear the extended work which councillors are doing out there, and they are the little stories of our community. So I think this is a really good thing which Craig has suggested that we do, and we'll do it, and maybe we have 2 each time. Okay, so thank you very much, Councillor, for participating in that. We'll move to minor items not on the agenda, and we'll start with you, Rick, climate change, and then to you, Neil, tank live streaming. But Rick first.
Thank you, Chair. Look, just as a note to councillors to say that you'd expect an email from me shortly, setting out a proposal to take a much more active stance on climate change, and in particular on climate mitigation. I know that we've had a committee look at this, and I went through the memo that was proposed was by Gavin, and looked and thought, well, it just does not compare the response on climate change mitigation with the activity we've got in terms of COVID-19 and the drought. And I personally believe that all the issues that we have as a council, climate change is the biggest, the most important, and the one that we should be the most active on. At the moment, we look like we're in a hiatus for 12 months, and I'm very unhappy about that. What I'm going to propose, and I'll just put this out there in my email, will be that the council set up an entity or a unit along similar lines to that which we've got for the civil offence. So the chairs and the chair and the mayors of the region provide leadership with the chief executives. That the funding of this is dealt with by the regional council, because we wait for everybody else to do something, it won't happen. I think we need some independence. I think we need some initiative. And I got the idea of how this could be funded from that very interesting discussion we had on the drought relief. There's two aspects about this. We have a fund on set aside for emergencies and disasters. And I think that the climate change is a disaster heading our way at high speed. Of that, there's no doubt. About relief, it says relief. Well, you can relieve in advance rather than post. I think everybody would agree that if you do things to reduce the impact of a disaster, it's better than waiting for the disaster to occur. I'm told ably by the chair that if we take the funds out of this, then it doesn't affect our profit or loss. I thought very good. The chief executive helpfully told us the other day that one of the key elements is a declaration. He said it was a declaration, I agree with him. So we have declared a climate change emergency. So we've got something going here. It all fits together. What I propose is that the unit have at least a staff of 3 dedicated to go and do things. I'm not going to predetermine how they should do that work. I'll leave that to the leadership group of the region. But there are several things that should be done. I think every sector should be able to be charged or tasked with identifying what it is that they can do to reduce and mitigate the effects of climate change. And I think we've got, for example, amongst our horticulturalists, a very bright and able group. And I think they are committed to this concept as well, but we haven't asked of them the question, we haven't posed to them what can they do. And I think the horticultural sector would be more than capable of coming up with a plan to reduce carbon gases, greenhouse gases themselves, and them having developed their own plan for this sector would be therefore committed to it. I think there are many other sectors in Hawke's Bay who would act similarly. And we might get some failures of that, I'm sure, but for every success we get, it's a success we never had. And I am personally deeply concerned at the delay. Everywhere you read of the growing effects of climate change, and it was extraordinary to read in the paper in Wellington where they're flooding over the south part, where the scientists said that this will be an increased problem for larger parts of New Zealand within 20 years. He also made the point it is the period of time for which a mortgage at a house is normally held. 20 years is nothing. And we've got other reports where, from papers that in 50 years' time, millions and millions of people in the world will be suffering undue heat stress. This 50 years is no time. I don't think we can afford to wait another year or 2 years until we get something done. I think we need to go sooner. And so I'm going to put forward to the council a plan, a proposal that we set up a unit similar to the civil defence, that we fund it out of a relief fund, that we get the, what I would now dub as the cabinet of Hawke's Bay, the mayors and chief executives and iwi to be part of this, the leadership group, to set its direction, give them what they need, staff. We can't do anything without a dedicated staff, and for them to go and set about working on climate mitigation. We have a very good plan for adaptation along the coastal hazards. We have plans to enhance our protections for stop banks and so on, but we don't have the mitigation. So watch the space. Something's coming your way. And let me tell you, I'm really fired up on the subject. This is one of the things that I'm the most passionate about, and we will have a really good discussion, I'm sure. I don't think mine's going to be the only answer, but I want this council to do something this year coming up for future generations. So we can act decisively for COVID-19 and decisively for the drought. We can act decisively for climate mitigation. No question about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. A very important subject. And I think you took slightly over 5 minutes to deliver it, your allocated time, but we forgive you. But Neil, where are you?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair, and I hope we can fit that into the annual plan there, Rick, to some funding for that would be great. Mr. Chair, my 10 minutes is going to be spent on
5.
the tank plan change consultation live stream, which was held last night by the team, and I just want to acknowledge a really tremendous effort. It just demonstrates what wonderful skills and capabilities we've got on staff with Marianne. And as you know, I'm not one to give out bouquets regularly, but I certainly want to on this occasion with the team. And well done to Nicola Nicholson and Marianne and the team for producing an excellent result. For those that didn't have an opportunity to see it, you can tune in, I think, Thursday at 11 o'clock. I think it's on again. And I would like to comment, Mr. Chair, that it occurs to me that engaging with the RPC, this is an excellent opportunity to use that forum. I think now everyone's getting their head around their electronic devices to communicate. This is an opportunity to do so. And one addition to the plan change consultation, I think Piri should be involved and engaged specifically from a Māori perspective. And I'd be really keen to see another session led by Piri to engage with the tangata whenua on this issue. But well done, team. Brilliant result.
Thank you, Neil. James, do you wish to comment on that?
Chair, I'd just like to reassure Councillor Curtin that Petty is intimately involved with the team around the engagement with tangata whenua on the tank plan change. So that all lies ahead. And look, I am conscious that there have been recent hui held, of which our staff have not been involved. And look, while it's great that people are getting together and talking about the tank plan change, I just hope that those discussions are informed and have appropriate levels of expertise engaged in those to ensure that the discussions taking place, do have the benefit of the science and the planning expertise that sits in behind what's a very complex plan change. And so I do think we've got an opportunity to take the presentation that was delivered last night and use technology to ensure that gets out and that people are really well informed about the issues and the statutory framework and all of those things which feed into what is now the proposed tank plan change.
Thank you, James. That is the end of our public meeting, and we're going to go into public excluded now. But I do think that we should close our meeting formally, given that quite a few numbers of the public are watching this meeting. So,
sorry, Chair, can I just note we do need to go into public excluded and then come back out again.
Okay, we'll do that.
So possibly we could do the karakia at that point in time. Although, look, I take your point that many members of the public probably won't wait around until we return. So, look, we can do it either which way, but just to note that we will have to actually come out of public excluded momentarily before the meeting is formally closed.
Advice on this, Mike?
I think if we look to custom and practice, Mr. Chair, the normal custom and practice has been that we actually wait to the conclusion of the hui.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't have any public with us then, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, will someone move into public excluded, please? Will, and second, Henny Y. All those in favour? Aye. Right, how do you do that on Zoom?